The system is bent and the money's all spent. We're measured from every direction. The workers get taxed while the wealthy relax.
With nary a moment's reflection.
Where there's grass, there's muck.
And they don't give an arse. There's a program against insurrection. And I say, bugger the bankers and politicians. Bugger the bureaucrats too. Bugger the buggers who make up the rules. And if you're one of them, bugger you. And if you're one of them, bugger you.
Now all you good people with passion to vent, don't give up the struggle for justice. But I've done my time on the protesters' line, and these days I show my dissent.
By loitering within my tent. And I say, bugger the bankers and politicians. Bugger the bureaucrats too. Bugger the buggers who make up the rules. And if you're one of them, bugger you. And if you're one of them, bugger you. Oh, bugger the bankers and politicians. Bugger the bureaucrats too. Bugger the buggers who make up the rules. And if you're one of them, bugger you. And if you're one of them, bugger you. And if you're one of
Hi folks, welcome to People for People. We're now in May. Unbelievable, but we are. And things go from bad to worse. You think they couldn't get any worse, but then it starts. And it gets worse. Quick update just on the DWP for Phil. Still not had any money. That's him into week 11 now with no money. Nobody seems to be too concerned about it, but except for us. And you have to ask yourself, what's going on? So that got me thinking to all the things that the government are doing. You know, we talked week on week here for universal. Hello. For universal credit, sorry. And how much your shambles it actually is. But the universal credits is just the tip of the iceberg. Because it's not just people who require to claim these allowances for universal credit that are actually being penalised. Every single person is being penalised by this government. And I'm thinking, why? When they're supposed to be helping us and working for us, and they're paid by us to work in our best interest, which none of them appear to be doing. And I couldn't work out, why are they not doing the job they're all paid to do? You know, the DWP are calling people who are sick, disabled, having to claim benefits, allowances. We don't like the word benefits because they're no benefits, they're allowances. And you get these allowances based on you having worked at some point in your life. And let's be honest, the majority of us have worked at some point in my life. I should be on my pension because I'm 61 now. But they stole it and they think it's okay for them to steal it. Well, it isn't okay for them to steal the pensions off the people who have worked for they were 16 and they're supposed to retire at 60. And they just change the goalposts. And this seems to be what they do all the time, but never in the benefit of the people. It's always in the benefit for them, the government, or whoever the government is. We're supposed to be the government. We are the government. We're the ones that are supposed to tell them what to do. And I've been banging on about people, if you've got a problem, go to your MP, your MSP, and they'll sort it out. Maybe that just won't happen. Maybe they won't sort it out. Maybe they're not even interested in sorting it out. As you all know, Phil's MSP told him good luck, So before I go on my rant for the day, I'm going to just say hello to everybody who's in. Angeling, Angemies, Cremu, Crazy Fox, Karen, Maced, Nutrents, Patty, Rob, myself, Yolintz. Thanks very much for joining us. I hope you enjoy the show, and we'll try and cover as much as we possibly can, but there's so much out there that it's unbelievable. Now, because I've been checking a few things, and Ian, thanks very much, Ian, for all the stuff that you've sent. Ian's been investigating and sending all the links to us, and one of the links he sent me was selling off the NHS for profit. Now, this may give people an inkling into why your MP and your MSPs may be only worth salt. They should all be sacked and they should all be jailed for what they've done. Selling off NHS for profit. A full list of MPs with links to private healthcare firms. So this is your MPs being paid by the public purse to act in the interest of the public, and they're all in the pockets of the private companies. And this list here is just the private healthcare firms. Not sure if you'll recognise your MP, and I'm not even sure where all these MPs are situated. But this link goes back to November 2014, and it's the Prime Minister David Cameron and Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt, Lib Dems Nick Clegg and Vince Cable are also on the list. Here is the full rundown. Is your MP on there? David Cameron, linked to private healthcare firms. Jeremy Hunt, also linked to it. Nick Clegg and Vince Cable. Vince Cable's the one that caused all the troubles, remember? Selling companies cheaper than they actually should have sold them. I think Vince Cable might have been, but I'm not 100% sure, involved in the NRAM thing as well. Don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, I don't want to divert from this, because this is selling off the NHS for profit. And this is the list of the MPs who have been getting money or income of some description by selling the NHS. David Cameron, well, he was number one on the list because he was the Prime Minister. He was handed a peerage to nursing and care home tycoon Dollar Popat, who has given the Tories more than £200,000 in donations. So you can see that he's got an interest when he's been given £200,000 in donations. So that straight away tells you there's a conflict of interest between the top government official and a nursing care home tycoon Dollar Popat, because he's gave something and got something. He gave a peerage and he got £200,000 in donations. Conflict of interest, I would say. The next one in the list is Andrew Lansley. He was the former Health Secretary and architect of privatisation. Received a £21,000 donation in November 2009 from John Nash, the former chairman of Care UK. So that's the second one, and he's the Health Secretary. And he was the architect of privatisation. You can see why he wanted to privatise it, because he also got a donation of £21,000. Not as high as David Cameron's at £200,000, but otherwise, still £21,000 for whatever he wanted to use it for. Another conflict of interest. And another Member of Parliament who's paid out the public purse to work in the public, in the interest of the public, getting money from private companies. Then we've got Harriet Baldwin, a Tory whip, former executive at JP Morgan, a major player in private healthcare. Doesn't say got any donations right enough, but who knows. Then we've got Greg Barker, the former Energy Minister, held shares in Quester VCT5 plc, a venture capital firm with multiple investments in healthcare companies. So former Energy Minister. Now that venture capital firm, I wonder if that's anything to do with the selling of our electricity, our gas, our water down south, and then we up here in Scotland get a percentage of them and the income back.
No, sorry.
No, false, you said no, we don't.
We buy it back.
We buy it back, there you go. So we buy it back, so we sell it to them and we buy it back. Brilliant, isn't it? Then we've got Greg Barker. Oh, sorry, I just said him. Then we've got Henry Billingham. He's a former director of Lansdowne Advisory Limited, which has shares in private healthcare company Circle. Now, for them out there, Circle's a big, big company. And he's got shares in that company, so another conflict of interest whereby people who are employed in the public to work on behalf of the public are also being paid by the private. So they're getting money from the public and the private. You can't serve two masters, you can only serve one. They're not serving the people they're employed to serve. They're calling the people who are having to claim allowances scroungers. I think they want to reassess it because it would appear to me the scroungers are not the people who are sick, disabled, unemployed. The scroungers are the government officials elected by the people to work in the public for the benefit of the public. Then we've got Jake Berry. Has interests in legal firm Squire Payton Blogs, which worked with multiple NHS trusts on PFI and PPP programmes. The PFI programmes were private finance initiatives. You know, all your private school, all your schools, your old school buildings and your old hospitals. Listed buildings demolished for private investment, for houses to be built by the private racketeers, because that's all you could call them. Because these private finance initiatives, the buildings that were standing get knocked, well, they call it razed to the ground. Seems a bit crazy to me, razed to the ground, but that's apparently what they call it. They knock something down and they call it razed to the ground. So, next one is Graham Brady. He's a former advisor to a PA consulting and a management consultancy company which has worked with the NHS's new clinical commissioning groups. So now we've got another MP, Graham Brady, tied up with clinical commissioning groups. Is that the Atos? Is it Salos? Who knows? How would you know? It doesn't actually tell you. So whoever's MP this is, Jake Berry, maybe you want to go and check him out. Graham Brady, sorry. Then we'll get Simon Burns. He's the former health minister. You see, that's a few that I've read that are former. You know, we've got the former health secretary, the former energy minister, the former health minister. And they're all doing deals and then they're stepping down. And when they step down, you've got no recourse because they're no longer in the job. These people should be held accountable whether they're working in the private, public, or they've stepped down. Shouldn't matter. If you and I committed fraud tomorrow, we would be charged whether it was tomorrow or 30 years' time, we'd still be charged. It wouldn't matter that we weren't in the job that we defrauded everybody from, we would still be charged. Anyway, Simon Burns, the former health minister, attended an oncology conference paid for by Aventis Pharma, a 5-day trip to the US funded by a leading drug firm. So now we'll get another one who's involved with private pharmaceutical companies. And he's supposed to be working for the public. Doesn't look like or sound like he's working for the public at all. Nick Du Bois was the majority shareholder in Rapier Design Group, an events management company heavily involved with the private medical and pharmaceutical industries. So another one tied up, another MP acting in the public, tied up with private companies, another pharmaceutical industry and private medical. Then we'll get Steve Brine. He received almost, not quite, just almost, £15,000 in donations from James Lupton, the chairman of investment bankers. Greenhill Europe, which has a global network of corporate relationships in the healthcare sector. So Steve Brine is getting money, taking donations from investment bankers. They shouldn't be allowed to take money from anybody other than the people.
They work for.
They work for. They work for the people. The money the people are paying should be enough. Their wages they're getting should be enough. They shouldn't need donations. But as soon as you put donations from anybody, that causes corruption immediately. Because would they do what they were doing if they weren't getting paid money to do it? Aidan Burley is the next one. He received 6 bottles of wine from Hitachi Consultants for a speech in 2011. Hitachi Consultant UK built on an online portal for NHS commissioners to help them monitor performance. Well, they've never done very good with that one because the performance of the NHS is absolutely abysmal and disgusting. It's not just that the NHS doesn't have enough money. They've got a bottomless pit of money. They're constantly getting money thrown at it. The problem is the CEOs and all the top dog officials are taking too much out the NHS. That's the problem. Know that they've not got enough money. It's bad management. They're taking more than the Prime Minister. And I wondered why the Prime Minister would be paying Atos staff more than what they were actually taking themselves, only to discover today that, you know, if they're getting money from the public and the private, how much are they actually receiving? Damien Collins is the next one. He spent almost a decade working for marketing agency M&C Saatchi, whose clients include PP Healthcare, AXA Insurance, AstraZeneca, Pfizer and Merck. No doubt he'll have loads of friends still in those companies because he worked for them for a decade. David Davis, former Shadow Home Secretary, another former one, received a payment of £4,250 for a 6-hour speaking engagement for private health insurance company Aviva. £4,250 for a 6-hour speech. Brilliant. But that's just another way to corrupt this guy, to show the public he's no actually working for you, the public. He's working for the private. He just received £4,250 just for giving a speech for a private health insurance company, Aviva. Then you've got Jonathan Gianogli. Received £1,900 from Huntley Healthcare Limited, which manufactures medical and orthopaedic equipment and instruments. But that's just another one who's getting a donation from a healthcare company in the private. Then you've got Richard Drax, who received £14,000 in a series of donations from Derek Luckhurst, Chief Executive and owner of care home group Agencare. Ian Duncan Smith, the man responsible for causing the hassles and upsets and sanctions with the DWP changing people from one benefit to another without giving them a time to adjust or sort it out or anything, the man involved in that, Ian Duncan Smith, Working Pension Secretary, has shares in hygiene technology company Biotrol plc, which sells products to the NHS. So the fact that he's got shares in the company means he's got a vested interest in making sure that that company thrives, because the value of his shares is going to be dependent on the profits that that company can make. While he calls the people the scroungers, it would appear to me that he is a fraudster. Philip Dunn is the next one. He was a non-executive director for an investment firm, Baronsmead VCT4 plc, which had multiple investments in private healthcare companies. Another one, working allegedly for the public, in the interest of the public, but having connections to a private healthcare company. Then we'll get Michael Fallon, who's the Defence Secretary, or he was at the time. A former director of Attendo AB, a Swedish private health company. I hope he's realising, and you can pick up that their incentive for privatising the NHS. Then we'll get Mark Field. He was a board advisor to Elwood and Atfield, a recruitment firm which recruit for NHS positions and private healthcare. Another one, working as an MP and linked to private healthcare and the NHS. Liam Fox, former Defence Secretary, received £5,000 from investment company IPGL Limited, who purchased healthcare pharma company Cyprotec, and he received £5,000 from them. So Liam Fox is also taking a salary and expenses and whatever else they may have got paid at the time, but being connected to healthcare pharma company Cyprotec. Then you've got George Freeman. He has shares in Hill House Assets Limited, and that's formerly private health firm 4D Biomedical Limited. So again, another one with shares in a private health firm who will push the shares of that company, and they'll push all the work, as you like, maybe in between that one and Biotech, who knows, because Ian Duncan Smith's also got shares in it. A different one, Then you get Mike Freer. He provided marketing advice to Care Matters, a financial planning company for care homes. So he's providing marketing advice. He's supposed to be in the public. You see, this is the problem when you've got MPs who are also working and they've got vested interests in other companies in the private. This is the problem that you end up with. That was how the banks ended up in this disaster they ended up in, because all the rules were laxed so they could just give anybody loans. Remember the dogs got the loans, The Big Short, in that film it showed you, big massive houses, and they were given mortgages to dogs and people who had no income and people who didn't even exist, because they had a vested interest in getting as many mortgages out as possible, because they had assured Northern Rock that they would sell so many mortgages in a year, and they had to sell their mortgages regardless. So they gave mortgages to dogs and all walks of life, some working, some not working, people who couldn't afford them, never done any of their checks, and they call the people on the sick or unemployed scroungers, they call them the scroungers, think they want to reevaluate who the scroungers actually are. Then you've got Richard Fuller, worked for LEK Consulting, which has 6 partners in European healthcare, and Phil's just said there's a difference between scroungers and criminals, because he deems them to be criminals. Then you've got Richard Graham, who received £3,000 from asset manager Crispin Odey, a major investor in Circle. Now, an asset manager of Crispin Odey is a major investor in Circle, which is a big organisation which the government employ a lot. Now you can see the pattern as to why they employ who they employ. Then you've got William Hague, the leader of the Commons, received a £20,000 donation from MMC Ventures, another private company, which part owns the Practice PLC, which runs 60 GP surgeries. So he part owns the Practice PLC, and that runs 60 GP surgeries. So 2 years ago I went with a kid and I wanted Sudocrem, and they told me I couldn't get Sudocrem because they were told they were no longer allowed to issue Sudocrem. I says, I don't care who told you, you're not allowed to issue Sudocrem. I don't have shares in any private company, and I want Sudocrem for that, Wayne. That's what I want. So that's what you'll give me. I did in the end get the Sudocrem, but get told that would be the last I got it. We'll see about that one. Then we've got Philip Hammond, the Foreign Secretary. Is a beneficiary of a trust which owns a controlling interest in healthcare and nursing home developer Castlemead Limited. We'll get Mark Harper, received £5,000 from asset manager Crispin Odey, a major investor in the Circle. Now that's the second one that's receiving I don't know if it's a grant or be funding anyway. He received £5,000. He got 5,000. Richard Graham got 3,000. Both of them from Crispin Odey, a major investor in Circle. Nick Herbert received £15,000 in donations from Caroline Nash, wife of former Care UK chairman John Nash. Jeremy Hunt, the Health Secretary, received £32,920 from hedge fund baron Andrew Law, a major investor in healthcare firms. £32,920 Jeremy Hunt got. Margaret James had a key role at marketing giant WPP Group, which had a long list of healthcare clients. Mere private. Sajid Javid, Culture Secretary, received £11,000 from Mounsley Healthcare Limited last year. So these people are not making decisions based on what's best for the country. These people are making judgments and decisions based on what's best for them and their pockets. That's what they appear to be doing to me. Then you've got Joe Johnson, Down the Street Policy Advisor, received £6,000 from asset manager Crispin Odey, a major investor in the Circle. Oh, there you go, Joe Johnson. So we've got 3 people now. One get 3,000, one get 5,000, one's got 6,000, all from Crispin Odey. So you see, if they break it down, it doesn't look so bad, do they? Just split it all amongst them all here. You take 5 grand, you take 2 grand, and we'll just camouflage what we're actually doing, because what they're actually doing is duping the public into thinking that they're working for the public when they're not working for the public at all. They're working for the private investors. Then we've got Kwasi Kwarteng, worked as an analyst for Crispin Odey's hedge fund, Odey Asset Management. So that's now 4 people that are linked to this Crispin Odey. I'm just going to circle that. You've got Mark Lancaster, who's a former advisor to property venture capital firm company Palmer Capitals Partners Limited, a funder of Dainscroft Commercial Developments, which has worked in the healthcare sector, right? Now, see this venture capital firm? Might be a different venture capital firm from the mortgages company. but it's still a venture, a property venture capital firm, who no doubt would be involved in selling toxic mortgages or transferring mortgages or taking them from one venture capital trust to another capital trust for a fraction of what the person actually owes. Then you've got Dr. Philip Lee, has worked as a freelance for Medical Solutions Limited, which provided medical cover for events. Oliver Letwin, former Shadow Chancellor, was a non-executive director of N.M. Rothschild Corporate Finance Limited, which invests heavily in healthcare, and he was a non-executive director. So not only was he the Shadow Chancellor, he was also a non-executive director on the board, which invested heavily in healthcare. So they're not privatising the healthcare for the benefit of the public or the people. They're privatising things so they get more money, their shares go up, they get more money, and they're looking for funding all the time. So they're doing what they're doing. They're doing what they're told to do. Then you've got Peter Lilly, a non-executive director of management software firm IDOX plc, which provides services to the NHS Health Libraries Group and the NHS Education for Scotland.
Okay.
Then we've got Tim Loughton, received £350 for training sessions with Cambridge Connections, a political networking firm that works extensively with the pharmaceutical industry. We've got Mary McLeod, was a senior executive at Anderson Consulting Accenture, which has profited from big PFI deals, private finance initiative deals, whereby, as I've already said, they knock down the old hospitals, they knock down the old schools, they rebuild them, and then the private companies rent them back to the government at a phenomenal interest rate. That's how there isn't any money in the council. That's how there isn't any money, and all the clubs have to get changed, and it doesn't matter how much taxes they collect, it's never enough. They're always looking for more. The private finance initiatives are taking all the money. That's all your bankers. But Mary McLeod is an MP who's supposed to be working again for the people, and she's a senior executive at Anderson Consulting, which profited from the big PFI deals. So she would have been in one of the ones that was pushing for the PFI deals because she was going to make money out of it. I don't know how these people sleep at night, and they call the people on the dole scroungers for 73 quid a week. Then you've got Francis Maud, Cabinet Office Secretary, was a director of PR firm Huntsworth plc, which was part of lobbying group Healthcare Communications Association. We've got Maria Miller, former Culture Secretary, former director of Gray's Advertising Limited, and an advertising and brand company which worked extensively with clients in the healthcare sector. Then we've got Andrew Mitchell, former International Development Secretary, was a strategy advisor to global management firm Accenture, which has worked extensively with private healthcare companies and the NHS. Then we've got Penny Mordaunt, Communities Minister, worked for lobbying firm Hanover, where she had a range of healthcare clients. So she's no working for the people. She's working for herself again, in the interest of her and her pocket, no giving a toss about the people who actually do rely on the NHS, who wouldn't be able to get treatment if they had to rely on the private healthcare. Then we've got Brooks Newmark, former Charities Minister, a partner in the Allel Fund, which invests in healthcare startups. There you go, another healthcare charity minister involved with a company that invests in healthcare startups. We'll get Jess Norman, received a £5,000 from asset managers Crispin Auden. There's that Crispin Auden again. He's awful generous, him. I wish he would give some of his money to the homeless and the unemployed, instead of giving it to people who actually don't need it. Because that's just another £5,000 to them. Then the next one we've got is Stephen O'Brien. I'm not sure if anybody so far has recognised their MP. I certainly haven't, not yet anyway. Stephen O'Brien received payments totalling £40,000 from Julian Schild, whose family made £184 million in 2006 by selling hospital bed makers Huntley Technology. So another one, £40,000 for a company that made hospital beds. Can see where his interests lay. George Osborne, the Chancellor, received donation through Conservative campaign headquarters from Julian Schild, the same guy who made £184 million in 2006 by selling hospital beds.
There's a hospital down south.
Brilliant.
You couldn't get the families were in, had a look at what was happening with their family, and they had to take them up pillars because the hospital said they couldn't afford pillars.
Ian's just telling me there was a hospital down south where a family had to go and take their aunt, their mother, whatever it was, pillows because the hospital couldn't afford them. Now, that's not just because the government are no doing their job, or it's because the NHS themselves, the management in the NHS ought to be sacked and jailed because the income that they're taking for themselves is criminal. That's a full investigation that should be done there. But then who are you going to get? You're going to get the racketeers to invest themselves. So you think you're going to get a different outlay? No, you're going to get the same outcome because they don't care about the people. They're just there to make money. Then we've got Priti Patel, Treasury Minister. Worked for lobbying firm Weber Shandwick, which does PR for big healthcare and pharmaceutical firms. John Redwood, a former cabinet minister, advised the private equity company which runs Pharmacy2U, the UK's largest dedicated internet and mail order pharmacy. We've got Jacob Rees-Mogg, partner of Somerset Capital Management LLP. And that LLP basically means limited liability partnership. That's so that if everything goes tits up, then I can't be held responsible because I've got limited liability, remember? Might only be £100, might be 1,000, I don't know. But it's limited to what I've invested in that company. It certainly won't be my house, and it certainly won't be my big fat bank account. And that which has healthcare investor Redwood Emerging Markets Dividend Income Fund as a client. Then we'll get Sir Malcolm Rifkind, remember him, the former Foreign Secretary, Chairman of Advisory Board at LEK Consulting LLP, which helps private healthcare firms identify new business development and opportunities with the government. You've got Amber Rudd. At that point she was the Energy Minister, but is she no to do with the DWP now, Amber Rudd, and she's no doing her job? She received £3,000 from a hedge fund baron, Andrew Law, a major investor in healthcare firms. So another one, she's taking money from the private as well as the public. Well, you shouldn't be able to sit in two chairs. You should only have one job. You know, in Dubai, you're not allowed to have two jobs. We should maybe introduce that over here. Maybe then you'll be able to stop the corruption within all these rat bags, because that's all they could be classified as. Then we've got David Ruffley, received donations, £10,000 in donations from Caroline Nash, wife of former Care UK chairman John Nash. Now that's the second donation that I've read out that girl Caroline Nash is given. Mark Simmons, former foreign minister, was paid £50,000 a year as a strategic advisor to Circle Health. So you see, he had his salary from being the foreign minister, as well as his 50 grand a year strategic advisor. They just make up fancy titles just so they can pay them. No doubt on the board. And as they're on the boards, they're all on the boards of each other's companies, so they can all wheel and deal at the public's expense, because that's what they're doing. They're wheeling and dealing at the public's expense. It's absolutely disgusting. And what are the people doing about it? Absolutely nothing. We should be out there daily kicking off about this, but we're not. Mark Simmons, alright, so that's, I've already said him. Chris Skidmore is the next one, received £3,500 for speeches to STAC Consultancy, which specialises in the launch of pharmaceutical products. How long did the speech take place? Don't know. Where did it take place? Don't know. Was it a reasonable fee? £3,500? Would I be charged £3,500 if I went and done a speech somewhere? Don't think so. Julian Smith received a £2,500 donation from Principal Healthcare Limited in September 2014. Nicholas Soames received $2,000 from asset manager Crispin Oddy, a major investor. That's another one for Crispin Oddy, $2,000. So you see, he's just splitting the money between them all. John Stanley, consultant on financial services to FIL Investment Management Limited, which invests in healthcare. And see, while this Crispin Oddy is giving everybody wee donations of £2,000 and £3,000 and £5,000, they're all tax deductible expenses, you know. So you see how the accounts are no worth the paper they're written on. You can make accounts be anything you want them to be. And that's obviously what they're doing. Accounts are no worth the paper they're written on. First of all, they're a year and a half out of date anyway by the time you see them. They're already history. You prepare your accounts next year for last year. You know. So that's what we do. We prepare the accounts yearly. No in advance. Never clear them in advance. Julian Smith received a £2,500 donation from Principal Healthcare. I read that one, sorry. John Stanley, consultant on financial services to FIL Investments. Andrew Tyree, Select Committee Chairman. Attended the Ryder Cup as Secretary of the Parliamentary Golf Society with travel and accommodation paid for by US healthcare services company Humana Europe. Now, that's a benefit in kind that he's just received there. Did he declare that in his tax return as a benefit in kind? I doubt it. But see, if we were given that, we would need to declare that as a benefit in kind because it counts as income, even though you never really got money. It's a benefit. You got all that paid for you. That's a benefit in kind, and you and I would need to declare it. Robin Walker, I can't say he didn't declare it. Maybe he did, because I've not seen his tax return. I don't know, but, you know, did any of them come and tell us here, by the way, I'm in this board and I'm in that board and I'm in the next board? No, they didn't. Robin Walker, his office received a £2,000 donation from Redwood Care Homes, which owns multiple care homes. So that's another care home. That's in the private again. £2,000. David Willits, former Universities Minister, has shares in SensorTech, a company that owns Vantix, which was working on a contract for a new product to detect MRSI. So David Willits gets shares in that company, so it's in his best interest to make sure that that company is promoted and the shares go through the roof so that he makes more money. Another MP out there taking money in the public as well as the private and claiming to work for the public. Well, you can't serve two masters, especially when the two masters have got different interests. The public are wanting a fair deal for their tax that they're paying. All the taxes I read out a couple of weeks ago, all the hundreds of taxes, you know, your road tax, your VAT, your tele licence, every single thing you pay, national insurance, employers' national insurance, employees' national insurance, water tax, you've got tax on your Ian saying water and your phone. So we're paying all these taxes, so the people are looking for the best interest, them to work in the interest of the people. But how can you do that when you're serving two masters? That's how you shouldn't be serving two masters. You can only serve one master. You cannot possibly serve two masters to your full capability. Because one, you're getting money to look after the public, but you're also getting money in the private to look after the private, and the private inevitably will be in contrast to the public. They're not interested in the public, they're only interested in how much money they can make. Then you've got Rob Wilson, had registered shares in Vital Imaging, a private screening company. So another one getting money, and having shares in a company. Well, you're not supposed to have shares. You're not supposed to have shares. If you've got shares in a company, you shouldn't be working in the public, because you've got an invested interest in ensuring that that company soars. So what would you do? You'd push all your work to them, wouldn't you? Because that's the company that you've invested in. How can that possibly be legit? Tim Yeo also attended the 2008 Ryder Cup courtesy of Humanity Europe. Nadhim Zahawi, non-executive director of recruitment company S3, which specialises in the pharmaceutical and biotechnology sector. Then you've got Menzies Campbell, former leader, non-executive director of Scottish American Investment Company plc, which took over one of the care homes when Southern Cross collapsed. Vince Cable, business secretary, that's a joke, received a donation of £2,000 from Chartwell Care Services, which is 100% owned by Chartwell Health and Care plc. It also owns Chartwell Private Hospitals plc, which provide day case surgery to NHS patients. Now see, these doctors in the NHS are the same doctors in the private hospital, because see, when I had private care, I went to the Ross Hall Hospital, and the doctor that attended me in Ross Hall Hospital was the same doctor that would have attended me in the NHS hospital. And I have to say, I was better going to the NHS hospital anyway, because the NHS actually do try and find out what's wrong with you. Because see, when you go to a private one, my experience was they done every test under the sun. Not because they needed to, it was just because that racked up their income. The more tests they done, the more money they were claiming. Because I had private healthcare insurance through one of the companies I worked with. And I had to claim that as a benefit in kind, and I had to pay the tax on it as a benefit in kind. Then we'll get Nick Clegg, the Joker, Deputy Prime Minister, received a donation to his constituency office for $5,000 from Alpha Medical Consultancy. Nick Clegg. Brilliant, isn't it? Claiming he's working in the best interest of the public, and in the back door he's taking donations for people who are involved in the medical consultancy. Alpha Medical Consultancy, private company. Simon Hughes, Justice Minister, received £60,000 donation to his constituency party from the founder of Alpha Hospitals, a private hospital firm, the same company as Nick Clegg. Robert Smith has shares in pharmaceutical giant GlaxoSmithKline. And Joe Swinson, the last one on the list, Business Minister, received a donation of £2,000 in September 2013 from private optician firm Peter Evans Eye Care. So you can see, folks, with that list, it does go back to 2014, but that list tells you all. They're not working in the interest of the people. They're claiming they are. They're taking the money that they're getting paid in wages out the public purse with all the taxes that you and I are all paying, but they're not working for us. They're pretending to work for us, but they don't. They work for the private companies, and that's evidence and proof that they work for the private companies. So how do you get the MPs to investigate themselves? It's an impossibility. How do you get what? I was just said, how do you get a meal? Oh, how do you get fed? Well, you come in time. So Phil's saying, how do you get fed? Well, you don't get fed because they've signed him off for 10 weeks. He's not got any money at all. They've not gave him anything. And we thought we'd sorted out his housing benefit, only to get a letter, and maybe we haven't actually sorted it out. So we'll keep you up posted on that one. But this selling off the NHS for private is absolutely disgusting. And while they're selling, while these MPs are pretending to be working in the interest of the people, which we all know they're not, we've got another thing that get sent over. Ian sent this over to me. Over 50s could be forced to pay £300 a year more in national insurance under senior Tory plans. Now, a lot of the MPs that I just read out, who have got shares here, there and everywhere, they're getting donations from all sorts of places. Obviously, there's got to be some kind of corruption here. And now they're going to try and force over 50s to pay another 300 quid. People over the age of 50 could be forced to pay more than £300 in national insurance each year to fund social care. Or that'll be the same social care that they've all got shares in then, eh? Under plans that have been branded a tax on getting old by Labour. Senior Tory MP Damien Green has proposed a major shake-up to funding for care. Now, maybe he wants to propose a shake-up of the government and a shake-up of the NHS CEOs and all the top dogs that are running it. Maybe that's what he wants to do. You know, time to sack the whole lot of them and start again with a new batch of people who are working either in the private or either in the public, but you cannot work for two masters.
These people,
The former Cabinet Minister, Senior Tory MP Damien Green has proposed a major shake-up to funding for care, arguing that it should follow the state pension model where everyone is entitled to basic support, but individuals top up the pot through their own savings. Aye, right, Damien. I think that might be something they've told people to do in the past. Have a private pension, you know, and if you've got a private pension, they don't actually give you anything. You don't qualify for nothing if you've got a private pension. And if you've got money in the bank, you've got to use all that first before you can get one copper coin. Doesn't matter how much tax you've paid, how much national insurance you've paid. You could have paid £1 million in tax last year, but if you're unemployed today, you'll get £73 a week, the same as everybody else. Doesn't matter how much you pay. The former Cabinet Minister, who was given the task of drawing up the long-awaited Green Paper on social care for England when he was in government, suggested a 1% rise in national insurance for the over 50s as a last resort to fill the £2.75 billion fund gap in the system. Well, the £2.75 billion gap in the NHS system could be taken away if we just give people normal rates of pay. Start at the top and wipe them all out and put fresh blood in there to run the NHS efficiently. It's bad management that's wrong with the NHS. That's what's wrong in the NHS. Bad management and greedy and people. In a paper for the Centre for Policy Studies, he said £350 million could be generated by taxing the winter fuel allowance and even scrapping it for the highest earners. Social care has proved to be a political stumbling block for Theresa May after her 2017 election campaign was effectively derailed by a manifesto commitment to ask people to pay more for their social care, dubbed a dementia tax by critics. The government has delayed the publication of its blueprint 6 times over the past 2 years, probably because they don't want to notify everybody and tell everybody all about it, as providers warn the system is at breaking point due to increased demand for the growing elderly population. Growing elderly population? Well, if the population's living longer, we've paid for a long thing. 3 people I know died when they were 58. No, 5 people now actually. 58 seems to be a kind of average age to me, where people die. If you die before you're 65, you don't get your pension. And your wife doesn't get it either, neither does your husband. You see? The government keep that. So you've paid into it, like Billy died last year. I got £100 a month for 18 months. I'm trying not to spend it on the one shop, you know. £100 a month, 25 quid a week. What's that meant to do? Absolutely doesn't even pay the council tax. But there you go. Mr. Green's suggestion of a Mr. Green, that's that Damien Green, you know. The one that's taking more than he should be taking. Idiot. Absolute idiot, man. Well, they're all idiots actually. They're not working for the people, that's for sure.
No idiots, they're making plenty of cash.
Ah, well, they're no idiots. Phil saying they're no idiots, they're making plenty of cash, but they're no, we're the idiots for letting them away with it. But we're no, he's no working for the public. He's no working for the best interest of the public. and he should be held to account. Mr Green's suggestion of a 1% levy on national insurance would raise £2.4 billion, which amounts to an extra £308 a year for people aged between 50 and 64. Why should people who are 50 to 64 pay an extra 1%? We've already paid enough, we've been paying it for years. Maybe we should just tell Revenue and Customs to just disappear, stay out with lies and we'll no bother claiming anything on money after, because they never give you anything anyway. Tax the winter fuel payment. The winter fuel payment, is that not just £100 or something? Is the winter fuel payment £100 Ian? It's £140, right? So tax the winter fuel payment, which is £140. They wanted to, that's for the people who are the lowest paid. That's for people who don't have any money, that can't actually afford to pay stuff. They're going to try and tax it and take it away from those who are higher rate taxpayers, allied to either a national insurance top-up or wider government savings, would inject £2.75 billion into the system, targeted only at residential and nursing care, Mr Green's report said. On top of the £6 billion already provided by the government, this would cover the cost of the universal care entitlement under Mr Green's model. These people are just, they're absolute criminals. That's all I can say. This could be boosted by a privately funded care supplement. Oh, there we go. We're promoting the privately funded care plan again. A new form of insurance which could pay for rooms, better food, more trips and additional entertainment in care homes. Do they mean more trips for the MPs, or do they mean trips for the people that are in these homes? I don't know who they're going to fund the trips for. Mr Green, a long-time ally of the Prime Minister, said, "The crisis in our social care system is one of the most pressing issues our country currently faces." No, I would say the most pressing issue that our country currently faces at the moment is the number of MPs who are supposed to be working for the public and they're taking money in the private. That's the problem we've got in this country today. It causes acute problems, yeah, you're right, Mr Green, it does, for the wider NHS, with 1.98 million delayed transfers in 2017-18 for those moving out of NHS care. The Conservative Party has an urgent need to show that it has ideas about vital domestic policy issues such as this. Well, the Conservative Party seem to be only interested in how much money they can make in the private. You see, that now explains why all these government officials are actually employing people and paying their wages more than they get paid themselves, because they must be getting some kind of allowances or funding from these people. Well, I've just read out there they're getting money from all these people. His intervention will be seen as an attempt to shift the focus from Brexit ahead of this week's local elections, where the Tories face a drubbing from angry grassroots members. Labour seized on the proposal, which is described as an attempt to punish older people with a tax on ageing. Shadow Chancellor John McDonnell said, after nearly a decade of brutal cuts to social care, the Tories now want to make older people pay through increased taxes. We want to hear today a clear statement from the government that they will reject this call, protect the triple lock and follow Labour's call to fund social care properly. Anything less than a clear rejection of these plans to punish older people and the voters will need to draw their own conclusions. Well, I spoke to John McDonnell myself one time. He was the Shadow Chancellor for Labour, and me and Big Croft went and we spoke to him. And he said he was going, "You send me all your stuff," because I told him all about the corruption with the mortgages and all the rest of it. And he said, "You send all your stuff over to me and I'll make sure something gets done." Well, we done. I sent mine, Croft sent his. Did he do anything? No, he did nothing. Because again, told to shut up because he's only interested in the private as well. So I'm going to ask Ian. Ian, do you want to come in and... He's just turned his laptop on, so he's going to come in and talk. So I'll just give him mine, and he can come in and talk to you about some of the things that he's got as well. Thanks very much, Ian, for giving me all the stuff that you gave me. All these things, Ian hunts them all down and then sends them over to me. I print them off and we go through as many as we possibly can. It's not possible to cover everything in these shows because we're only on for 2 hours. I could be here for 2 days and still not cover everything. But that in itself is absolutely abysmal and disgusting, that selling off the NHS for profit. So a lot of the NHS has already been sold off and people don't realise it.
Time for the people to take it back.
It's time for the people to stand up and take back our country. It's absolutely disgusting that there's nothing getting done. The government, you see, they're all in it together. Like I keep telling people, Labour, Tories, SNP, Lib Dems, they're all in it together. They all work together. Brexit is just a game.
They're on the One World Order group.
They're all in the One
companies.
World Order group of companies. Go and check it out for yourself. One World Order group of companies, and you'll see they're all listed. Because they're part of the One World Order group of companies. It's disgusting. But there's only so much that people can do. And I get that a lot of people are scared to do anything because of they might stop their benefits and they'll no get this and they'll no get that. They're going to take it anyway. They're taking all your stuff. So it doesn't make any difference. I need to turn that off. Doesn't make any difference. They're still taking it anyway. So it's... Yeah, could you go to a music break? Because Ian's going to come on with some stuff. If you could just go for a music break for 5 minutes to give Ian time to get his stuff all sorted. Thank you very much.
When I was a lass, I was proud of me class, like my father and mother before me.
They taught me to fight for my civil rights,
But it's always the same old story.
the rich reign supreme while the poor can but dream.
Under Labour or Liberal or Tory.
And I say, bugger the bankers and politicians, bugger the bureaucrats too, bugger the buggers who make up the rules, and if you're one of them, bugger you, and if you're one of them, bugger you.
The system is bent and the money's all spent. We're measured from every direction. The workers get taxed while the wealthy relax.
With nary a moment's reflection,
Where there's grass, there's muck.
and they don't give an off, 'cause they broke out against insurrection. And I say, bugger the bankers and politicians, bugger the bureaucrats too, bugger the buggers who make up the rules, and if you're one of them, bugger you, and if you're one of them, bugger you.
Now all you good people with passion to vent, don't give up the struggle for justice. But I've done my time on the protesters' line, and these days I show my dissent.
By loitering within my tent, and I say, bugger the bankers and politicians, bugger the bureaucrats too, bugger the buggers who make up the rules, and if you're one of them, bugger you, and if you're one of them, bugger you. Oh, bugger the bankers
so.
Not only
More about gel coat.
when the fourth round would.
Don't you call in the... More importantly, he knew what he was talking about.
Oh, does it look good already? Okay.
Jumbo Scampi for limited.
All for a price that will make you.
How the hell am I supposed to pay?
This is Rick Simpson, and you're listening to People for People Radio, the voice of truth in Scotland.
Hi folks, how you doing? I'm going to talk a wee bit about something in regards to what, something I read in the Telegraph today. It's like elderly should do community work or else they'll lose their pensions, a peer has said, which I basically think is disgusting. We're sitting a wee blather about it, and the bottom line is they've paid into the pot all their days, but now they're expected to come out and do some work in the community, and this is what the elders are actually looking down and saying, right, this is what we think should be happening. And it's like, and this is a knock-on for what I was just talking about, over 50s have got to pay an extra £300 a year national insurance. It's like, as you can see, they're just targeting classes, and it's diabolical. So I put a post today up on Facebook, and it was like, well, wait a minute, turn this one around. Why don't the peers have to do a bit of community work to get their wages? It's like, I think we should be asking questions like that. It's like, at the end of the day, if I come to paint your house and I don't paint your house, are you going to pay me? It's like, so why should these people be getting paid for something that they're not actually doing? They're working in the public for the public, and it's like, well, wait a minute, here's the public have paid into the pot all their working lives. They've retired now, and now you're expecting them not to actually enjoy retirement. It's a bit of a joke. Right, and then I'm going to move on to another wee subject, right? The Guardian again. It's like, judging by the Home Office, it's now Tories policy around Britain. Right, so this broken into institution, Ricky says, for one scandal to the next, cruelty and sabotaging the British economy. It's like, here we go, Amber Rudd again when she was the Home Secretary. Right, she resigned a year ago, exactly a year as Home Secretary, and it feels as if the Home Office is as broken as ever, if not more so. There is something of the weakness of the Arab Spring about it all, an unimaginable revolt happening. A despot was overthrown, and for a brief moment it seemed that the time of dystopian oppression was over, before the deep state regrouped and imposed a tyranny redux. Since the Windrush scandal, all we've seen is pathetic attempts at compensating victims and more scandals. Over it all is a new benevolent dictator, Sajid Javid, who speaks in the language of a man who knows how to pay lip service to the forces that removed his predecessor, while doubling down on policies that have not changed but are merely fronted by a new, more media-friendly face. So this is basically, we're talking about what's happening down in London, we're talking about what's happening in regards to the Home Office, and it's like the whole thing is just, it's a total disaster. It's like the whole country's, like, if we were France we'd be out in the street, but we seem to know off the balls to be France. So all we're doing is kind of like, we've got your eBay, your Facebook politicians and your Facebook people going like that, right, what's going on, what we're going to do. It's like nothing's going to change. It's like, as Einstein said, it's like you get up every day and you do the same thing and do it over and over and you expect a different result every day, and it's like that's the descriptor for insanity. It's like, but we keep doing it. Right, I'm going to move on to another subject, energy drinks. I don't drink them, right, because years ago I started looking at the ingredients, and I heard something about a thing called taurine, and I was told that it came from a bull's testicles, and I thought, that's a bit Yeah, I need to go and check that out. So I went and had a look at it, and it's no true. It's no came from a bull's testicles, but it's actually came from another creature's. It's came from another creature's biology. So therefore, these things are only suitable for vegetarians nor vegans. But it doesn't say it on the tin. Do you know what I mean? So I came across an article here. Energy drinks are found to be shockingly toxic to the human heart. The drinks are all the rage these days. Estimates between 2008 and 2012, the energy drink market exploded by a staggering 60%. In 2015, it was reported the market was expected to reach a value of more than 21 billion in 2017. Nowadays, it's more than 500 energy drinks available for purchase. The energy drink advisor industry has done a great job of making their offerings seem like the cool beverage of choice. It goes on, tells you products or supplements rather than beverages. There's no nutrition in them whatsoever. There's all these myths that their beverages are no different than a cup of coffee, but the truth is energy drinks are emphatically not the same as coffee or cola. There's studies emphasised this by showing that drinking just 32 ounces of energy drink a day can cause potentially harmful changes to your heart function and your blood pressure. These changes go well beyond what caffeine can do alone. According to the FDA, doses of caffeine equivalent to 400 milligrams or about 5 cups of coffee are safe for human consumption, but energy drinks are notorious for containing other proprietary energy blends which are often compromised of ingredients are of questionable nature. Little is known about the safety of these ingredients, plus downing several energy drinks a day, as many people do, can easily put someone well over their daily caffeine limit. Sources say alone that they increase your risk of headaches and changes of blood pressure, never mind the issue of what other goodies are put into energy drinks. Some of these drinks may even have led to fatalities. To measure the safety of these ingredients, researchers compared the physical change observed in a group of 18 healthy men and women after they consumed a commercial energy drink. The team also recorded the physical changes that were produced after the group consumed a beverage loaded with the same amount of caffeine, but none of the other ingredients featured in the energy drink. The energy drink used in the study contained 320 milligrams of caffeine, 4 ounces of sugar, and an array of B vitamins, and a proprietary energy drink blend which consisted of taurine, the very thing that I was discussing there, and other ingredients that are practically standard for drinks like Red Bull or Monster. The research team used an electrocardiogram, often called an ECG or an EKG, to monitor the participants' heart electrical activity during the 24-hour period following the beverage consumption. As reported by an NBC News, an ECG change known as QTC prolongation and sometimes associated with life-threatening irregularities in the heartbeat was seen after drinking the energy drink, but not after drinking the caffeine beverage, the study reports. Authors of the study say that several drugs have actually been pulled from the market for causing similar irregularities in heart function. The team explains that the study subjects' blood pressure increased by up to 5 points after consuming the energy drink, while consumption of the caffeine-only beverage yielded a modest blood pressure increase of just 1 point. So there is definitive evidence that these drinks cause irregularities in your heart condition, do you know what I mean? And these are being evidentially proven by scientists, but the problem is nobody knows about it. And what offended me, the reason I found out what was in them was because I'm very curious as to what I'm putting in my body, so that's why I looked at the ingredients of it and I seen the taurine, and then I heard the taurine wasn't suitable for vegetarians, and then I went away and found it wasn't, and that's what made me stop drinking these drinks, because I'm a wee bit conscious of what I'm putting into my body. So therefore not a lot of people know these kind of things, and it's just like things that people really need to comprehend and take into their thought, because at the end of the day we've been lied to. We've been lied to left, right and centre, and there's nothing really we can be doing about it. So that's in regards to that, right? We've got something, right, it came out in November the 1st last year in regards to medicinal marijuana, medicinal cannabis laws changed last year, but getting an NHS prescription is still terribly difficult. So November the 1st, 2018, the UK changed the law on medicinal cannabis. Medicinal cannabis products were moved from Schedule 1, meaning they have no medicinal value, to Schedule 2, which allowed doctors to prescribe them under certain circumstances. This change to the Misuse of Drugs Regulations 2001 was partly a response to a rapid evidence review commissioned by the Home Secretary for the Chief Medical Officer, which concluded that some medicinal cannabis products were effective for some medicinal conditions. And formal advice for the UK Government's Advisory Council on the misuse of drugs to change the schedule. Perhaps a more powerful driver of the rescheduling was a well-organised publicity campaign that received public support due to a compelling and difficult to challenge emotional narrative of sick children. The use of confrontational tactics, large financial backing and privileged access to national media and senior politicians. But did this wave the media publicly and public support lead to unrealistic expectations about accessing medicinal cannabis? The number of NHS prescriptions is low, right? So, but the number of NHS prescriptions since rescheduling is low, perhaps less than 100. This is what the article's stating. So, difficulty accessing medicines in the NHS is not unique to cannabis, as seen with other medicines in the news, such as expensive chemotherapies and or can be for cystic fibrosis. Drugs available in the NHS are often a source of great controversy and provoke discussion about the affordability of medicines, their effectiveness and the ethics of providing or denying access to particular patient groups. Rescheduling to allow prescriptions in the NHS means that cannabis products are now also subject to the same types of debate. Some cannabis medicines are available to patients regardless of the rescheduling decision. These are products developed by pharmaceutical companies and have been formally licensed for use by the same way as other medicines. Sativex is licensed to treat multiple sclerosis, and Epidiolex is undergoing a licensing review and is expected to be approved for treating severe forms of epilepsy. So here we've got two companies, a company supplying Sativex and Epidiolex, and they're two cannabinoid-based medicines. But we've got a government since before the 1971 Misuse of Drugs Act came out, believed that there was no medicinal value or no medicinal value to the plant whatsoever. And here we've got two companies who, well, have been making it. So that's obviously contrary to what the government are stating or quoting or stating, because Sativex has been on the market for quite a while. So therefore, they must have got a licence quite a while ago. It must have been tested, it must have been checked out for them to actually be able to use it. So, the world's changing rapidly in regards to what's going on. And we've got another cracking study, I think. I've had a wee look at this. It's a free study with unvaccinated, revaccinated kids pulled for a journal, right? And it was erased for the internet, right? Pilot comparative study on the health of vaccinated and unvaccinated 6 to 12-year-old US children was published in the open access text. As soon as it was published, it was pulled. And this is proper science, right? This is lead authority Anthony R. Mawson, Professor of Epidemiology and Biostatistics at Jackson State University School of Public Health, established established that his team takes no issue with vaccinations in their own right, stating in the study's introduction, and it goes on to basically make you aware that how can an unvaccinated child affect a child that's been vaccinated. So that's kind of contrary to the fact, because what you're actually proving or you're stating is your vaccine doesn't work. Or maybe I've missed something, but that's my interpretation of it, do you know what I mean? It's a cracking, I'm going to actually put it up on the site, it's a cracking, I read this and I thought that's a really, really good document to put up, do you know what I mean, for people to have a look at it. I enjoyed that. But there you go, that's basically what I've been doing the past week. It's like I've been having a wee look and see what's been happening in the world and see what I can bring to people's attention, and well, hopefully it's a wee bit of information for folks that these can, well, enjoy. Wait a minute, but I can't find that, Gary. What one was that? At least different job. Wow, I can't believe it. I put that much up. There's that much yet. I'm just looking for the next subject to kind of talk about, because there was just that many. Oh, we've got I'm not even going to get into that. Oh, there it's there. Homeless women jailed for begging. That's right, that's horrible. Despite nobody complained about this, and basically, well, I'll give you a wee read out there. A homeless woman's been jailed for begging in North Wales despite no one having complained, in what campaigners have suggested is part of a wider effort to remove poverty from the streets. Susan Piggott was sentenced to 6 weeks in prison after she admitted begging outside a shop where she was banned by a criminal behaviour order, according to North Wales Pioneer. The Llandudno Magistrates Court heard that she asked for money and received it from 5 passers-by despite being prohibited from sitting on the ground for more than 10 minutes in town centres in Conman County during shopping hours. Mrs Piggott's solicitor, Nia Dawson, said the 55-year-old woman was in poor health and there was no allegation or aggressive begging, and that no one had complained about her behaviour. John Glacken, a former rough sleeper who is the founder of Street Kitchen, a grassroots homeless support group in London, said it was ridiculous to criminalise homeless people rather than addressing why they were on the streets. There were no complaints of antisocial behaviour about this woman, and she was banned from sitting down for 10 minutes. That's probably where her social life is. This is happening more and more across the UK. They said they're trying to rid this town centre of the blight of beggars and whatnot, but it's mainly attacking homeless people, and it's just to remove the poverty from the streets. We should be addressing the issues of why people are there on the streets, not to move them with the punishments or the criminalisation, which is ridiculous. 6 weeks in jail, that's a lot of money, that's a waste of money. That could have set up that woman in a flat, and that's a deposit. Jail's not the right place to put vulnerable people, but that's the state, that's the just what we're living in, do you know what I mean? That's the benefits of staying in, well, a dictatorship. I'm pretty sure Theresa told you about Phil's set up. They went to a lawyer yesterday and you can't take DWP to court. You can't take DWP to court. It's like, well, we put up last week about Stephen Smith, the guy who actually died 6 stone. He went down to 6 stone, and they told him that he was fit for work. The guy had no muscles in his legs whatsoever, and they told him he was fit for work, and then basically he died. He succumbed to pneumonia, which he contracted as a result of the DWP sanctions. That's what the coroners are actually stating. Is like, so it's like I'd listen to a coroner before I would listen to an MP. So we've got another one here. DWP Minister takes 8 months to reply an MP's letter about universal credit. A DWP Minister takes 8 months to reply to an MP's letter about universal credit. So if that was you or me, and it took 8 months to do your job, you would have a job tomorrow, would you? And it's like Labour MP Catherine West wrote to ministers on August 12 last year, the fears of people on the 6-in-1 benefit. But Unemployment Minister Alok Sharma only wrote his reply on April 24th this year. He wrote, I apologise for the delay. It gives me honour. Before launching into 3 pages of explanations about how universal credit is being improved. Improved in regards to what? It's like the whole thing's a total disaster. Universal credit. It's like I fear getting put onto universal credit because well, at the end of the day I know what it's going to do and there's nothing you can do about it. You've just got to go with the flow, do you know what I mean, and hope that you survive it. There we go, that's all I can say. Right, so homeless women jailed for begging. Right, next subject. Right, Donald Trump. Donald Trump threatens to use the US trade talks to force the NHS to pay more for drugs. What have we actually been talking about? It's like the price of drugs. And it's like here, we've got the politicians and you've got the nation states, the Prime Minister, President and Prime Minister are sitting doing these wee deals, and it's like this is what this deal between Europe and was it NTTP or something, the North Transatlantic Deal or something it was called. But here we go. Donald Trump's ready to use trade talks to force the National Health Service to pay more for its drugs as part of his scheme to put American patients first. Mr. Trump has claimed that the high costs faced the US patients are a direct result of other countries' health services freeloading at America's expense. Alex Azar of US Health and Human Services Secretary has said Washington will use its muscle to push up drug prices abroad to lower the cost paid by patients in the United States. On the foreign side, we need to, through our trade negotiations and agreements, pressure them, as I said on CNBC, and so we pay less, they pay more. It shouldn't be one-way ratchet. We all have some skin in the game. Do you know what I mean? This is it. It's like nothing to do with people's health, nothing to do with like the beauty of life. Do you know what I mean? It's like these people are just animals. You're a commodity. Do you know what I mean? That's what I hate about this world. It's like, yeah, if you birth the grave, you're a commodity, and you're just here to make people money. Simple as that. Wow. Right. Job Centre Advisor. The reforms have been designed to hide the numbers of unemployed. We interviewed a Job Centre Advisor to ask about their experience of welfare reform since the coalition came to power. This is for 2014. Having seen the changes and effects of unprecedented reforms, we wanted to know how their job experience and demands had changed. Following on from our other interview last week, we bring you a second interview with a Job Centre Advisor. What are your thoughts and experiences, we were asked, of welfare reforms and rules since the coalition came into power and how they've changed? What are they aimed towards and what have been the effects on the people yourself? It's clear that the coalition Tories have created a determined propaganda campaign against the most vulnerable members of society, from Osborne's shirkers and worker speech to the hard-working people mantra, clearly designed to separate claimants from those who feel they are hard done to. If you can make the masses think that claimants are feckless, lazy scum, you can get away with doing virtually anything to them. Who will stand up for the worthless? Well, Tory soundbites differ from the reality, and I should know as I see it daily. Are there lazy people who do not want to work? Yes, I will not lie. However, these are in the minority. For some, it is a transitory phase. Most do want to work and indeed sign off when the opportunity arises, not through force, but for a number of other reasons. If jobs existed in the numbers that are required, they would find work. It's all very well Donkey Smith and McVeigh spouting that there are thousands of jobs in the system. If you need experience in Z and you'll have experience in Y, you're not going to get the job. I've witnessed several grown men with learning needs and disabilities crying and begging not to be sanctioned. I thought we were meant to be helping the vulnerable, but we're now just a tool to get the numbers back to the coalition agenda. The reforms have been designed to hide the numbers of unemployed. So many have been sanctioned and not counted in their official figures. Many are desperate and will take these Mickey Mouse 0-hour contracts to escape the fortnightly gauntlet. I must also add truthfully that I'd never come across a 0 hours vacancy until the last couple of years. That is not to say that they did not exist, but I never encountered one. Now they're everywhere. Apprenticeships are another tool to hide unemployment figures. Very cynical. Older folks will hear the spin. 1 million apprentices and say, great, wrong. Coffee shop apprentices, call centre apprentices are just a way for employers to undercut the minimum wage. They're doing this like in the thousands, and who can blame them? £98 a week and get a new one in after 12 months? Fantastic. Britain now is a time-served coffee shop worker to complete in Cameron's global race. Wage incentives. This scheme is an absolute disgrace. Employ an 18 to 24-year-old for 6 months and the taxpayer will give you £2,500. Paid at minimum wage, you'll make a profit even if you get them to lick stamps. Vacancies that were full-time paid jobs are now changing to wage incentive vacancies as job centre staff convince employers to accept money for nothing. This is seriously affecting the jobs market and it's all down to coalition pressure to increase wage incentive targets. Excuse me. They can then claim falsely that the scheme has created thousands of vacancies when the truth it hasn't. The vacancies were already there. The taxpayers just paid £2,500 to employ A instead of B. Economic sense? No. That's the tactics, right? The job centre are playing with the young and the needy. Have you referred claimants to a food bank? If so, what were the reasons? Can you tell us about any experience in particular? I've referred several customers to food banks, mainly following a sanction, although we were instructed to signpost rather than refer several months ago after the press got hold of what we were doing. Prior to this, we did have official instructions for a senior level to refer to food banks after the withdrawal of crisis loans. I have personally arranged food parcel deliveries for customers who for various reasons have run out of food. I do not know how they manage in £71 or £56 a week. And it's like, this is what we've paid into. It's like, and well, Phil was talking about legislation that the Liberal Democrats brought in. We can't get a date for this piece of legislation, but there's a bit of legislation that your benefits are supposed to be kept in alignment with, what was it called again, Phil? Where every year you get your budget and the inflation. Your benefits are supposed to coincide with the level of inflation, so that means that the people who are the lowest bottom of the rung are supposed to be able to live their life on what they're given. It's like, but what's happening now is like, well, universal credit, people are ending up in debt before they get the first payment, people are ending up in rent arrears before they get the first payment, council tax arrears, water arrears. So before you kick a ball, and here's another problem I've got with universal credit, it's that the government's created this new corporation with the word credit attached, and what they're actually, in my opinion, what they're doing is they tell you we're giving you a loan, and it's like, you're not in a position to give me a loan, you're not a bank. And it's how they're using the word credit, and it's universal credit. So there's an awful lot going on here that I think that we really don't comprehend and understand what's going on. So I think there's an awful lot of questions that should be getting asked in regards to universal credit. But that's just that, right? So let's look at, hold on, the reef. Right, I've opened that twice. Damn me. Right, the elected mayor of Swindon. Right, this is a cracker. Nick Mather's resigned now, but the fact that he hung on for as long as he did makes you wonder just how progressive Britain is. It's a sad day for Swindon following the resignation of its mayor, Conservative Nick Martin, or on a good day, actually, as it happened to be a disabled-hating bigot. The problem started last year when a council meeting discussing challenges for disabled adults in modern society. Martin was asked, "Are we still letting Mongols have sex with each other?" No, he asked, "Are we still letting Mongols have sex with each other?" Despite saying he'd done nothing wrong. He was found guilty of breaching the members' code of conduct. And this is a mayor. This is a guy that applied to be a mayor. Do you know what I mean? This is the level of skill that comes out of this guy's mouth. Right, despite saying he'd done nothing wrong, he was found guilty of breaching the members' code of conduct. He was told to apologise, apparently blocking out the part where he inferred that disabled people shouldn't be allowed to breed. He said Mongol was a word he was brought up with and that it was not a modern word. It was at this point he started to weaken and feel absolutely no sympathy for Martin or Mayor Martin and the misunderstood, as I imagine he refers to himself. "I wish I hadn't got it wrong. The committee want a new apology and I will keep apologising until they fall over," he said, in perhaps the worst apology about an apology that has ever been spoken. "I'm sorry, I'm human and I don't know what is wrong with my apologies. I can only imagine the frustration he feels living in a world where not only do people complain when an elected official uses hateful slurs at public meetings, but complain again when you give them an apology you were forced to make and is absolutely terrible." And this is the level, Theresa and I went to a meeting with Phil in Glasgow City Council, and the abuse we got in there was unbelievable. Like, the woman talking to me, after Theresa sat and listened and Phil sat and done his discussion with the woman, and I went outside to get paperwork and I come back in, and by the time I come back in, Theresa was walking out. Phil was coming out and he's like, "No, she's just been kind of abusive," and I was like, "What do you mean abusive?" And I kind of walked up to the desk with the paperwork and I asked her what her name was, and she turned and she told me. She says to me, "I'm not talking to you." And I was like, "Oh, what do you mean you're not talking to me? Well, I ask you your name, you're working in the public, you've got a duty to identify yourself." And she turned and she was like, "Get a job." And I was just flabbergasted. I was like, "What?" And she was like, "You heard me." And I turned into the witnesses, they had witnesses set out, and I turned into the witness and I was like, "You just witnessed that, didn't you?" And they just looked away, and it's like, "Yeah, scumbags." And that's it, that's what you're up against. It's shocking. It's totally unbelievable. And well, that's the state of the world that we're living in, and we consent to it. Because we don't do it about it, we can't do it about it. But there you go. That's about as much as I can give you. I've done my information. I just didn't know where it was going there. I just thought to myself, I've got all this paperwork. But I don't actually know. I think that's all covered. The looks of things.
Covered?
We've got another thing here about pollution.
I printed something up there as well that I've not read out yet. I don't have my glasses. Right. That's it. Thanks, Ian.
Right, there we go. Well, thank you very much, folks, and I'll pass you back to Theresa. Alright, ta-da.
Hi, folks. Thanks very much, Ian. Well, that's all the information that we've been printing off, folks, but there's, I think next week what I'll do is I'll bring out all the information that I've got regarding the NHS, because the NHS, how much they're getting in expenses and things like that, and because that itself is absolutely abysmal, and it'll just show people the state of affairs that we're actually in. And this was a way back a few years ago, you know. Will they do anything with Brexit? I mean, even myself, I was like, loads of things I think are smokescreens for the Brexit. I don't think Brexit can ever happen. I think it's a pantomime, but I could be proven wrong. I don't know. Obviously, time will tell. But as far as filling that's concerned, it's like you can't get out of Europe because we're all intermingled with Europe, and we've got to follow some of the laws and all the rest of it. You know, in fact, voting cards are coming out to vote for Europe. Well, if we're trying to get out of Europe, why are we getting voting cards to even be voting? Because we're still in it just now, I can hear you say. Yeah, is that really true? You see, what they say and what they do is two different things. It's not what they say that matters, it's what they actually do that matters. I'm just going to go into another document here that Ian sent me today regarding lung cancer. And as everybody knows, that's what Billy died of, and that's what Big Will had, and Willie's mammy had it. Who else had it? Kind of seems to be Billy got diagnosed with COPD, and then it was the cancer. But anyway, this article here that Ian had gave me over today is about the cancer and being on the rise. Now, my Auntie May, Billy's Auntie May died of lung cancer. Well, she had cancer as well, and she never smoked a fag in her life. So I know a few people that's died of lung cancer, but lung cancer is on the rise among people who have never smoked because of increasing exposure to toxic air. But doctors and politicians are unaware of the problem scale, experts warn. In the UK, 6,000 people a year die of lung cancer, despite having never smoked or having smoked a negligible number of cigarettes, fewer than 100 in their lifetime, a study has found. This makes lung cancer among non-smokers alone the 8th biggest cancer-related cause of death in the country, ahead of leukemia, lymphoma and cervical cancer. But medical experts say the much stronger association with smoking has created stigma around the disease, a disadvantage in those who don't smoke, and curtailing research into other causes. For too long, having lung cancer has only been thought of as a smoking-related disease, said Professor Paul Cosford, Director of Health Protection at Public Health England, and lead author of the research that appeared in the Journal of the Royal Society of Medicines. This remains an important association, but as this work shows, the scale of the challenge means there is a need to raise awareness with clinicians and policy makers of the other risk factors, including indoor and outdoor pollution. This is why PHE has published guidance for councils on improving air quality by stopping parents idling near school gates and promoting carpooling. While smoking is the single biggest lifestyle factor that affects lung cancer, accounting for 86% of cases, pollution, fumes from coal fires and second-hand smoke are also linked to its development. Women were also much more likely to be affected by lung cancer despite never smoking, the author said. For me, I've never smoked, but when you go through the change, you know, the doctors put you on the HRT treatment, but I never took the HRT treatment, neither did my sisters, because if there's cancer in your family, then you can't get the HRT treatment. So Billy's Auntie May did take the HRT treatment. She had cancer, she'd never smoked. So I think that, you know, I'm not saying I'll never get lung cancer or I'll never get cancer, but what I'm saying is that HRT treatment and lung has also been linked to lung cancer or to cancer. Smoking history is often the first question doctors will ask for patients coming in with symptoms that could be an early warning cancer, but not smoking could give false reassurance and send them down the wrong path, the wrong diagnostic path, sorry. Despite advances in our understanding, most people who have never smoked do not believe they are at risk and often experience long delays in diagnosis, reducing their chances of receiving curative treatment. Professor Mike Peake, co-author from the University College London Hospital, said, "The stigma of smoking has been the major factor behind the lack of interest in knowledge of and research into lung cancer. Therefore, in many ways, never smokers who develop lung cancer are, as a result, disadvantaged." So, just because you've never smoked doesn't mean to say you're never going to get lung cancer. I've never smoked, but will I get lung cancer? Who knows? I've been surrounded with folk all my life smoking. Will that affect me? Probably. Who knows? Only time will tell, you know. But I'm just going through these documents here. The other thing that I had tonight was, hold on till I get it, was for these, you know, like the vapors, the vapes. We went to Phil's doctor's yesterday and there was 3 people smoking it, and see the puff of smoke that got left when one of the girls walked by me, it was thick, smoggy, right? And that smell lasted way beyond her leaving where she was standing. I could still breathe it in. I was still breathing it in. So you see, we're being subjected to by that pollution. The e-cigarette market is a multi-billion-pound industry thanks to a substantial increase in people vaping in the last few years. There's actually people smoking these vapes that didn't even smoke fags, which I think is ludicrous, or cigarettes, sorry. I think it's ludicrous. Why, if you were never a smoker, would you put one of these near your mouth? I would, even if a smoker, I wouldn't put one of these near my mouth. Medical experts believe vaping is 95% safer than smoking a conventional cigarette, but there's still some uncertainty surrounding e-cigarettes and what the possible side effects could be. One theory is that e-cigarettes could have contributed towards a little-known condition called popcorn lung. Popcorn lung is a slang term used for a condition called bronchiolitis obliterans. It's caused by inhaling chemicals that scar the lungs and in effect stop them from working properly by reducing their capacity and efficiency. The symptoms of BO being bronchiolitis obliterans, shortness of breath, wheezing and feeling tired. The condition is similar to chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and is commonly diagnosed as this. As to diagnose BO, a lung biopsy is required. One of the inhaled chemicals associated with the cause of popcorn lung is diacetyl. That's DIACETYL. Go and check it up. DIACETYL. Diacetyl is a chemical used in many processed foods to impart a buttery or creamy flavour. In the past, it was used by manufacturers to give popcorn its buttery taste. And in 2002, 8 cases of irreversible lung disease were documented in people who had worked at Missouri Popcorn Factory between 1992 and 2000. This is where the condition's name is derived from. I don't really think that there's enough evidence out there to cover everything that could happen to people who are taking these vapes, but the fact that there are chemicals in these vaporizers should be a warning to people that you don't want to just be taking it. Phil's saying it's the element. What is it, Phil? The element? The element in the vape? How? It's what? Chromium 6. chromium 6, Phil, saying that it's stuff that's in the element of these vapes rather than the vape itself. It's the stuff that's in the vape. So for me, I think we need to do like maybe a big investigation into it to see just how much is linked to people taking cancer and things like that when they're having, or popcorn lung, when they're having taking the vapes instead of smoking cigarettes. Oh, got a wee article here on Amber Rudd. Remember, she's one of the MPs who's in it, and you know, she was one of the MPs that was listed in the selling off the NHS for profit. And now she's the secretary. She's dealing with the DWP, and it says this article: it's now exactly a year since Amber Rudd resigned as Home Secretary, and it feels as if the Home Office is as broken as ever, if not more so. There's something of the bleakness of the Arab Spring about it all. An unimaginable revolt happened, a despot was overthrown, and for a brief moment it seemed that the time of dystopian oppression was over before the deep state regrouped and imposed a tyranny redux. Since Windrush, all we have seen is pathetic attempts at compensating victims and more scandals. Now the RBS is saying that the guy's stepping down and he doesn't think people should be compensated for the errors of the bank. He says his attitude is that people knew what they were getting into when they got involved in it. No, they didn't. He didn't at any point tell people that, you know, we had the LIBOR scandal. He didn't at any point say to the people who were paying higher interest on their mortgages than they actually should have been paying, that it was them corrupting things and setting things up to make them more money. At no point did they tell anybody that. And I did write to the government and say, well, I didn't write to the government. I wrote to the financial ombudsman and said, well, a LIBOR scandal has caused me money and you've charged these companies thousands of pounds. When do I get my money back? Because it was me that robbed and no you, and I get told no, it doesn't work like that. Well, if I'm robbed and I'm having to pay a higher price than I should have ordinarily been paying, then that means somebody owes me money because they've overcharged me. Is that no fraud? And every other walk of life it would be fraud, but because they do it and the government seem it's okay to charge them fines, well, that doesn't solve the problem. Charge them a fine and make them give the people the money back that we shouldn't have been paying, because people's mortgages were all inflated. They owe more money than they should have owed because the greedy bankers wanting more money. And there you go, another scandal. Where did it go? Brushed under the carpet. They're good at that. They brush everything under carpets and hope it disappears. And most of the time it will disappear because very few people talk about it. So, presiding over it all is the new benevolent dictator, Sajid Javid. Now, Sajid Javid was also one of the listed MPs on the selling off NHS for profit, who speaks in the language of a man who knows how to pay lip service to the forces that removed his predecessor, while doubling down on policies that have not changed, but are merely fronted by a new, more media-friendly face, one that does not hesitate to point out as often as possible that it is a brown one. What will it take for wholesale reform? What will it take for the Conservative Party to understand that its combination of anti-immigration extremism and incompetence is cruel but also bad for the economy, the NHS and the higher education system? Forget sympathy for refugees, asylum seekers and actual citizens who just happen to be paperless if that's not your thing. Consider instead the unsold, by morality, practical benefits of policy making, presumably the whole point of the Tories. The latest Home Office scandal, one that MPs threatened could be bigger than Windrush, involves the deportation of more than 1,000 overseas students after the Home Office accused tens of thousands of them of cheating in English language tests that qualify them for student visas. A panorama investigation in 2014 highlighted evidence of cheating at 2 test centres, following which the Home Office, with all its characteristic respect for due process and the care and subtlety of a cudgel, concluded that out of 58,458 students who had taken the test between 2011 and 2014, 34,000 had definitely cheated. Visas were subsequently cancelled and curtailed, and hundreds of international students spent time in detention. These decisions are now under formal investigation by the National Audit Office. The Home Office, ever inert, will, according to a spokesman, consider the findings. Well, maybe they will consider the findings, but as with everything else, they'll consider the findings. They might have a wee talk about it. Will we hear about it? Doubt it. That'd be another issue that'll be brushed under the carpet. As with all Home Office blunders, the consequences are twofold: devastation for those involved and the loss of a healthy source of revenue for the British economy. Well, the British economy's got a healthy source of revenue. They keep ripping off the people time and time and time and time again. So, these students who were not deported exist in a criminalised limbo, unable to continue their studies. So we've got another issue here, and this is like a big one. Home Office paid out 21 million after mistakenly detaining 850 people. So they paid out £21 million. That's taxpayers' money for somebody not doing their job. Who was held responsible for that? And who got charged with not doing their job right? Nobody, probably. So this is the problem we've got in this country, folks. It doesn't matter what article I get, what articles Ian sends me over. Every single one of them are all about somebody doing something they shouldn't be doing. So anyway, that's 11 o'clock now, so it's time for me to wrap up. I'd just like to thank everybody for joining us and hope you enjoyed the show. Ian, thanks very much for all the information that you've sent, and thanks for taking part in the show as well. Joan, I hope your wedding's gone good, and Phil is in the background, but he's not really saying anything this week. So I'd just like to thank Angeling, Angemies, Barbara, Cremu, Crazy Fox, Grizz, Mist, Nutrons, Patty, Redempty, Rob, Star, myself, Yolance. So, and Ian's here, and so is Phil. Thanks very much, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the show. Catch you next week. And if there's anything that anybody wants us to cover and come in and have a talk about and things like that, then just let Gary know during the week, and he'll pass a message on to me, and then we can have a show that's more interactive with the people. Thanks very much. Speak to you later. Good night. Bye.
Bye.
Also,
Now on the
More about gel coat.
when the fourth round would.
Don't you call in the... More importantly, he knew what he was talking about.
Oh, doesn't it look good already? Okay.
Jumbo Scampi for limited.
All for a price that will make you.
How the hell am I supposed to pay?
This is Rick Simpson, and you're listening to People for People Radio, the voice of truth in Scotland.